We could use tdad.
Thank you.
Thank you. In connection with the actual agreement,
Yes, ma'am.
I believe a copy of not only the memorandum of understanding and agreement, but also the facility use agreement was provided to all council members. Was there anything in there that you wanted to draw our attention to?
Well, Madam Mayor, there are a number of things I guess that I could discuss, but there's nothing really that causes me any great concern. I get the impression you're kind of suggesting that there's something you want to talk about,
No.
and that's fine.
I was just curious if you got any feedback yet from the college or anybody else with concerns.
I have not, and I did make sure that it was sent to the college and to the high school, and they did tell me that they received their copies, and that's both the MOU and the agreement, and the facility use agreement with the attachment or the exhibit, and they did receive their copies, and so that has been done, but I have not heard back from them on these documents.
I know Ms. Schultz is here, also with a representative from the Pecos League, and I'd like to invite you to say a few words if you care to comment on either agreement or the discussion regarding the fence.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor, members of council, city staff. Thank you for this opportunity. First, I must say I'm so proud to be in this meeting today. Mr. Escobel, city staff, thank you for mobilizing and coming to the table with us in regard to the safety issues out at the park, because it not only affects the triggers, it affects all of our leagues here in the community. Also want to say that this team is really gaining momentum. Our business plan for 2013 for the Pecos League is completely different than what it was last year. This year you're going to see 10 teams in the league total. We have now Trinidad, Raton, Las Vegas, Taos, and Santa Fe, all in a Northern League division. Then we have the Southern League division, which includes Pecos, Texas, Alpine, Texas, Las Cruces, Alamogordo, and Roswell. So, for instance, we traveled our team to Alpine, Texas 4 times last year. This year they'll go there once. So, you know, as far as the dollars and cents go for running this team this year, it's a completely different animal. So with that said, I'd like to take this opportunity and introduce the commissioner of the Pecos League, Mr. Andrew Dunn, who's come to Trinidad here from Houston today. So, Andrew, please.
Mr. Dunn, welcome.
Hello, thank you guys. Oops, allergic to the.
It's our dry weather, gives you electric shocks.
Thank you for having us at this meeting and considering our lease proposal or release proposal or whatever we're calling it. I'm not sure what we're renewing or know exactly what we're calling it. And
I think formally it's our user agreement.
User agreement. Okay, so that's what we're calling it. And we're looking pushing the season back 1 week, starting on the 14th and ending on July 26th. And people in Trinidad have been very welcoming and supportive of us staying here and playing here and being here, and it's been great. Originally, as you know, I came here to have a team in Pueblo. There's not a team in Pueblo, and it doesn't look like there's going to be a team in Pueblo. And that being said, the way things are going, it appears we're going to be here to stay regardless. So Trinidad is a name known throughout all of New Mexico now. It's not an island in the Caribbean, it's a city in Colorado. And, you don't know how many times we say Trinidad. Trinidad, Trinidad. I mean, we had a player sign with the Baltimore Orioles last week, and it's been great to have different cultures in our league, and we're glad to be here. So that's generally kind of where we are on it, and getting understanding from Trinidad State Junior College and moving forward in the correct manner with those guys. Versus what was kind of explained to me last year was a little bit different than the way things went. Obviously, there's totally new seats here, totally new people. So I guess that's part of Southern Colorado politics. So getting versed in those as well. So that's pretty much where we are. And thank you guys for being here. If anybody's got any questions for me or whatever.
Yeah, I sure do.
Okay.
Where's the several $1,000s you put in the field down there? In the paper, you quoted that you put a lot of money back into that field. I worked there for 20 years. I didn't see any improvements in that field at all whatsoever.
Okay, I was there the 1st of May, and I was there in July. I was only 3 games. So I was told by the college.
Why would you make a statement like that?
Did I make a statement? Where
Why, it
does
was
it?
in the
Councilman
paper.
Shu, I think JD Drawdy, the manager of the team, and the
Oh,
assistant
I
manager
never
of the
made a
team.
statement like that at
made
all,
that
so I don't know
statement.
where
Yeah,
you're
and
getting that.
I would like to know, because
So,
I mean,
okay.
I went to that field and in that clubhouse, and you were there, it was terrible.
Well, may I
When they
address
tore it
those
up.
issues, Councilman Shu?
No, I want to finish my talk first,
Okay.
because I listened to that before. Now, we went there, and that was unprofessional. There was booze, there was bottles, there was everything in that. The place was torn up, that junior college. And then I turned around in the paper and said that they put thousands of dollars into that field, and they did that, and they did that. And that's not true,
Well,
not at all.
here's,
But it is true, because, hold on just a minute, because I was on
We
site.
did discuss
And-
some of those issues when
Well, I
Mr. Gallardi
understand
and
that
I
too,
went
yeah.
to TSJC.
We purchased all the new screens that are out there. We spent many man-hours cleaning that field and working on that field.
That's
And-
not
and so-
improvements, though, that's maintenance of the field.
Well,
Well,
Councilman Shu, I
and the field does
understand
like-
that, okay, and so we sat
That-
down,
I mean,
and that's
that's
part
the
of
issue
the.
that we need to get straightened up. is
Well, and that's what we have
that
written in your
field.
MOUA, that goes through the percentages of who is supposed to do what, who is supposed to provide maintenance and care for what. So that is the reason why we've been so diligent in all of this with the college, with the mayor, the city attorney, and others involved, the athletic department, the president's office.
What about the high school and the little leagues?
Well, in the high school and the little leagues were addressed through the city of Trinidad and the Parks Department, and they are included in the MOUA as an interested party. Bottom line here is, this is a business that's coming into the area, this is an attraction, and so, I mean, really, we all need to be putting into this.
So is Trinidad State Junior College. They put a lot more money in this community than the Federals will ever put.
okay, so here's the thing. Bottom line, if you don't want us here, we'll leave.
Well,
It's
we're
that,
not saying that.
it's that simple. I've already said I've left. There's people offering us
I'm not saying.
100 times money than what we're doing staying here.
Then
It
why
costs
are you
all
staying
kinds
here
of,
if they're offering you all that kind
well,
of.
because everyone's wanting us to stay here. We want to have one
I-
team.
I'm not
Could
arguing with you, I'm
I
just saying that the agreement
please
should be
have-
taken care of.
let
My
us-
agreement was with
All
Edgar
right.
Rubio.
I'm sorry,
He's
all
not
right,
here
that's
anymore.
it. Mr. Shu, let's look at the language in the memo of understanding and agreement. This was developed, Mr. Gallardi and I, along with the representatives from the college. And if you review the memo of understanding and the facility use agreement, I believe all of the concerns have been addressed, including ensuring that School District Number 1, the junior college, the Triggers, and the City of Trinidad are involved and have come to agreement on this memo of understanding. And I'd suggest that each council member take time to thoroughly review the document, and if there are issues there that anyone believes have not been addressed, then we need to have candid discussions about that. But my sense is that the community enjoyed the baseball games this past summer. The league is going to concentrate with other leagues that are in the northern part of New Mexico. This will be an enhancement for tourism, and it's an endeavor to provide opportunities within the city of Trinidad so that our community has an event they can go to and participate in. And I'll be the first one to say maybe last year was a little bit of rough sledding for everyone, but I don't believe we should throw the baby out with the bathwater. So, Mr. Shu, if you have an additional question, I'll entertain it at this time.
I mean, here's the thing, that's where there keeps being a misunderstanding. I'm losing, I mean, if we're not wanted here, we don't need to be here. And every time this keeps coming up, and he brings up great points, I'm glad he's bringing it up now because he's being honest about his feelings. I was told that JD Drawdy and Kim here met and everything was understanding. I called Trinidad State Junior College and they expressed their concerns. As spoke with Ralph on the phone, so I guess we need to get it resolved to where if Trinidad State Junior College, I mean, if it's not clear that we're welcome and we're such a problem, then we need to resolve it clearly, and apparently that's not the case. So as far as the beer and the problems in the clubhouse, the manager was removed immediately. There was lots of times being cleanup after the season and things like that. And I mean, it's a positive event.
It was left immaculate when we left the area, and plus we did have a lease on that facility during that time frame and had a surprise visit when we had guys out of town. Weren't expecting an inspection now, and Andrew's right. The management was removed from that arena. We look to have a tight circle of centralized control on what's occurring out there. We have.
And that was one of the specific reasons, if you would look at Appendix A, which is a list of day field upkeep by the triggers and provisions within the MOU, we had some candid discussions about how that field is going to be maintained and inspections that will occur to ensure that the facility, the dressing room facility, which really belongs to TSJC, is maintained in an appropriate manner.
I've read both the memorandum of understanding, the appendix, and the facility use agreement. I think it covers and protects all parties involved. It's all encompassing. Last year was last year. This year is this year. And I think all parties are expecting different things to occur.
And Mr. Gallardi, I saw you raise your hand, sir.
Yes, thank you. My comments would be, has the Trinidad State Junior College been apprised of this contract?
Yes, as a matter of fact, Mr. Downs ensured that copies of all the relevant documents were provided to the college president and to Dr. Rodriguez's office as well.
Have they returned have they made any comments?
They have not.
Well, that's.
Then we would like to have a meeting to bring back.
I too tried to I tried calling the junior college because I felt that I was left out of the loop there. I was at your meeting, at the meeting that you attended, and Frank was not there. He was invited to attend. The understanding I left that meeting with is that this contract would be looked at by the college, the interim city manager, and you. I have yet to hear from anybody. This is the first time I've seen this contract. And I have to agree with Frank. The time that I viewed the Central Park, it was a disaster. And we did make it right to some extent.
And of course, you're talking about the dressing room situation.
Yes.
And that was correct.
Mr. Dunn called me and hung up on me. So by him saying that he talked to me.
That's not true.
All right,
Well,
look, I'm not going to tolerate back and forth.
Yeah.
What I want to do is have a meaningful discussion about the terms of the memo of understanding and the facility use agreement. And at an appropriate time, these matters will be placed on the agenda for action, and each individual council member can vote his or her conscience, either up or down.
Actually, aren't they on our special meeting for today?
Yes, exactly. So we were presenting it. The idea is to go into the special meeting and then to vote at that time on the city's approval of the memo of understanding and the facility use agreement. Now, I'd like any other questions from council members? Is there?
I have a question about irrigation water.
Yes.
I guess the city's providing a reasonable quantity of water for irrigation of the grass areas. Are we already doing that for the other parts?
Yeah, it's well water, it's
Yeah.
not city water.
Yeah, that.
Okay, good.
Yeah, the only issue I have is who's gonna enforce this? Is the college taking care of the maintenance of the field?
My conversation with the new junior college coach is he would be inspecting it. The coach that was here this year took a new job. And I've never had such a problem in any of the 11 cities I've been in before with this. So JD Drawdy, myself, and the junior college coach would be the ones to be responsible should we move forward with this. You know, so definitely there needs to be accountability, and I agree with that, but yeah, I don't know.
Do you need a minute to calm yourself?
I don't need a minute to calm myself at all. I'm perfectly
You're not
fine.
doing yourself a hell of a lot of good here with your demeanor and attitude.
Well, I didn't call and hang up on him.
That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about
Twice.
in general. Arguing with a council member is not appropriate. And
Yes, sir.
presenting yourself in such a manner that's inconsistent with the president of a baseball league.
Right.
You act accordingly. Right now, the next few words out of your mouth should be, "I'm sorry," and we'll proceed.
Okay, I'm sorry, and we'll proceed.
Accept it.
Okay.
I think at the end of the day, the question is, does the memo of understanding and the facilities use agreement address all of the issues? It was my understanding that it did. Council has reviewed it. If there is any member of council who believes that there's something that has not been addressed, then we need to
Okay, now,
include that
yeah, yes,
additional language.
I just want to ask, now, you say that the college is going to inspect it. Who's going to do the maintenance on the field? You guys or?
I believe it's broken down.
It's in the memorandum.
Well, I read some of
basis.
that, but the day-to-day basis,
Under the.
the college, I mean, the city does cut the grass in the outfield. Who takes care of the infield?
They had a hand drag last year, and the mound and everything was done with clay, and I know we brought clay in, and
That, I mean,
Hand
the
drag.
outfield's not the issue. The
Sure.
infield has always been the issue.
It says
we also-
the infield mowing shall be the responsibility of Trinidad State Junior College.
That's why I was asking, has he agreed to all this, to do this?
it's whatever's in the memorandum, but I know the
That's
dragging.
why I was asking if we had talked to the college
There
to
was
make
thoughtful
sure that was
conversations
agreed.
Yes.
with Coach
All-
Torres.
All of the
JP.
things you see in the memo of understanding were issues that were discussed in the president's office on the date when Mr. Gallardi and I went to the meeting.
So this is a collective representation of
exactly.
what
As a
every
matter of
party
fact,
involved had
the-
issues with.
Yes. Appendix A was actually drafted by the college's, I think the baseball coach. He is the one that prepared Appendix A.
And that's the breakdown of responsibility
Yes.
percentage-wise?
And my understanding was everything was okay. There were no more issues that were being resolved. You know, and then we're getting in here and it's going down this road. That's where there's.
Well, no, we're trying to find out if they
Yeah.
were resolved. We're not
So
going
maybe-
down any
so-
road.
so maybe-
We're just
maybe
trying
they're
to
not.
find
That's-
out.
This is a national pastime we're talking about.
Sure.
It ought to work, okay?
Well, and that's just it. We just want
Yeah.
to play
And
baseball.
that's all we want, and as Bernadette has suggested earlier, it was welcome in the community, it's a
Okay.
great pastime for everybody to enjoy, okay? But there are just technicalities that need to be resolved. And if everybody stays calm and in control of
Sure.
themselves, it usually works out, okay?
Thank you, Councilman Matei. Also, you have to get a perspective of what other cities deliver to these teams that are coming to their towns.
Point made.
For instance, Raton. Raton will take care of all of the maintenance on their field. The team in Raton will not have to worry about maintenance or mound play or anything like that, nor do they have to worry about that in Santa Fe, Las Vegas, Taos.
But in those areas, do they have a college, a high school, and a city, and
Oh,
everybody
sure,
trying to
there's
use
all of
it
those,
together?
all of those fields are very, you know Raton's field is very well used, I mean, just across the field. So to give everybody the benefit of the doubt, you know, I mean, we all need to be involved in maintaining this field because it's for our community. The Triggers aren't gonna be able to do it on their own and spot it on their own. Coach Torres isn't gonna be able to, and nor is the high school.
Right.
So that's where we have to come together. Now, I do have to say, it was an uphill course last year working with Trinidad State Junior College athletic staff to some degree because they had to share their facilities. And so please know that there were some territorial issues as well. And that's where we're trying to get over this hump. And really, you know, on an economic development perspective, it would, you know, we would be so thankful if the city and the community would embrace this project and assist bringing it along. And thank goodness for the Chamber of Commerce and those board of directors that had the forward thinking last year to bring this to the community and pretty much take all the hits that were to be taken in the learning curve to bring this to our community. So with that said, you know,
We understand that, and these two documents, I think, address most, if not all of those
I
issues.
believe they do, and
Okay,
they're very
so we're
clear.
okay.
They're very clear.
Now, I want to be real clear about the general maintenance provision, which is in the facilities use agreement. It was specifically modified after the meeting that Mr. Gallardi and I attended. Provision E was added where compliance with the MOUA, including daily field upkeep, is set forth in the attached Appendix A. That was added. And as was in last year's agreement, it's very clear that in the event there is a conflict among the Pecos League, the college, the district, I think there was a word left out of there, the school district, regarding maintenance responsibilities that is not resolved by either the facilities use agreement or the MOUA, then the city manager shall have discretion to delegate maintenance responsibilities among the parties. In my view, I believe everything has been addressed in these two agreements. I may be mistaken, and if we're going to call the special meeting as we planned and vote on these, I certainly encourage anybody who feels that they're not satisfactory to, I believe somebody's vibrate phone is going on the park.
Everybody looked at me. Thank God it wasn't me, that was. Thank you, Councilman Nadal.
So basically, at the end of the day, I believe all of the issues have been addressed in one or both of the agreements. And if we need to take a little break and review it further, I'm not adverse to
The
that.
only other question I wanted to ask is Dave's in the audience. Dave?
Yes.
Just, everything's mentioned, but you guys, parks, do you guys have any questions or anything that you want to resolve with this?
No, I think last year, the Pecos Leagues, and they put out the big trash can thing to help control trash control. We ended up putting out some porta potties to help restroom facilities. And we continue to cut the outfield grass and wet line the foul lines, and I think everything works smooth.
Well, Mr. Estabel and the Parks Department were fantastic. They worked closely with Mr. Rick Lures, of whom we expect to have with us this year, to fix broken sprinkler heads and, that type of items, fence lines, etc. Trash control was huge. There was trash all around that back infield that we pulled out of there that had been in there for years and years and years. Your lights, thankful to the city of Trinidad Light Department, your lights were in good order, and your scoreboard.
Yeah,
So-
Mr. Duran did a yeoman's job bringing the lights.
Truly did.
You need to understand that that's our concern, that there's a lot of other people involved in that ballpark, not just you guys. And that's why we want it to be kept and done right. The Bonaquistas and a lot of the people have donated the money for that scoreboard, and everybody else has worked real hard to get that field where it had. It's not a major league field, but it's one of the better fields around. And that's our issue, that we want it to be a good place. And so I don't want you to think we're taking this personally, but we want to make sure that, and I've looked at the agreement, I think it's a good agreement. And that the only thing is, if we enforce it, I think it'll work fine. I don't think that's a problem at all.
Well, Councilman Shu, thank you for that. I'd like to cordially invite you to participate in our steering committee for the team that relates to all of these issues throughout, from the beginning of the year through the season. We've really enjoyed you on that committee. We've asked for representation from the city, the college, the high school, and our sponsors and other stakeholders in the community.
I think things went a little south last year because of the political dynamic and the distraction that was created when we lost our city manager. But based on my interactions with the junior college president, the interactions with the individuals who participated in that meeting with Mr. Gallardi and I just don't anticipate that we are going to have difficulties like that this year. And if there is a rough patch, we can talk, we can resolve the issue. So I'm optimistic about that. Do I have any other questions from a council
When
member?
the trigger, excuse me, Madam Mayor.
Yes.
When the triggers first came to town, I remember that we were very concerned of, like Mr. Shue said, how this ballpark was going to be maintained, if there was going to be any conflict between the college, or there was going to be any conflict between the high school. And you yourself, Kim, just said now that we had like a kind of a rough ride in there, and we're looking to oversee this right now for next year, or this year coming. But, you know, my concern is that we haven't heard back from the college yet. I know that the mayor met with the president and Mr. Glardy and stuff like that, and I think discussing this later on is going to be very important. I mean, I welcome the triggers. I hope they have success in Trinidad, but it's really up to all of us, like Mr. Shue says, to take care of our ballpark, because it's very important for us, the citizens of Trinidad, and we just want that to look forward. But we don't want to have no conflict. You know, we always said that when you guys first came here, that we're worried about what's going to happen with the junior college. Our junior college is our mainstay that really puts a lot of money and stuff in our community, and our high school and stuff like that. And my main concern when Mr. Del Rubio brought you in here was that the conflict of what's going to happen with our college and our high school kids. And I still see that. I don't know, maybe we didn't have no conflict at that time last year with the scheduling and stuff, but I think that's what this council's worried about. You know what I'm
Let
saying?
me address a couple things real quick. When the triggers came to Trinidad, at the time I was the director of the Chamber of Commerce, and I went to a baseball game, a high school baseball game. When I got there, they were playing a team out of Colorado Springs. This was before we had gone on the field. There was nobody sitting in the stands. There was a swastika painted on the side of the storage unit. There was no concessions for those people to enjoy. There was no trash and nothing cleaned up. And people would sit in their cars in the parking lot and watch the game over the fence. When the triggers came to town, I saw families fill those bleachers. You had food, you had refreshments, you had an attraction, you had a destination. So far be it from us to bring something good to the community that's going to bring life to the ballpark. I feel that this is nothing but an amenity for this community, and I think all of you are really in agreement as well. If we can just get the bureaucracy and the red tape and the territorial issues out of the way and work together to maintain a baseball field so that we can have something for our families, especially our families that don't make a lot of money, that don't have hardly any money to do anything, they can afford
The baseball team. They hashed out those issues, including the development of this very extensive and comprehensive Appendix A. And I would also direct everybody's attention to the language that was in the facility use agreement, Clause 13, which talks about cooperation with other users. It very clearly sets out there that the league acknowledges that the upper field is also used by TSJC, District 1, and from time to time, Holy Trinity Academy. And my understanding is use of the field was never a problem in terms of scheduling.
no.
And if there would be any conflict, we specifically provide that the city manager shall have the discretion to determine the priority of use. So I think those issues are well in hand within the body of the two agreements. And truly, from my interactions at the meeting with the Dr. Boland, my perception was that if there were any rough spots, it was the interaction between the team and TSJC, and we have addressed those issues at great length.
And I was unaware of those issues until I received a call from the city manager when I was told by Jared to mail the release payment, the lease payment and the check. Absolutely unaware of it, 100%. And so it was great that he called and addressed the issues and at least made me aware of it, because I was unaware of it. And obviously it hasn't been smooth because, you know, there's been accusations that the field was this. I mean, the clubhouse was a problem, there's no doubt about that, but the surface, the field. And by the way, we share fields throughout, you know, we played Apodaca Park. We're no strangers to sharing fields with much larger
Yes.
institutions than TSJC, and we've never had an issue like this.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Well, I think it's been adequately addressed because the Appendix A, which provides for daily field upkeep for triggers, it addresses the mounds, the home plate, infield, warning track, watering the field, hitting and locker room area. I think they have hashed through all of the issues that created tension last year. And obviously, if there would be any problems, I'd anticipate that the parties would have dialogue and we would be able, as reasonable people, to come to a resolution of those issues.
I'll just make a comment. I was impressed with the agreement. I hope are you in agreement with this pretty much? So we're just waiting to hear from the junior college, signing off. And I'll just mention that as a merchant, you do generate some excitement in this town. And we appreciate it.
Thank you. Are there any other questions from council? Mr. Bernardo, Ms. Velasquez?
Not for me, thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Basically, we had the two agreements, which is the facility use, and we also touched upon the memo of understanding and agreement. So our next agenda item is number 9, which is discussion of other agenda items.
Mayor, I believe Lewis.
Down the road, I think Lamar or La Honda or somewhere like that. Would that be a problem with any council member? Yeah, it would be Tuesday, December 11th, starting at 12 noon instead of 1:30.
No problem.
Okay, sounds great. So there you go, Ms. Audrey. All righty, I think we're ready to get underway. Good afternoon, everyone. Today's date is Thursday, November 27, 2012. The time is 3:35 p.m. I would like to remind everyone to please turn off their cell phones or else set their phones to vibrate. Council will now please come to order for its special meeting. And once again, I want to welcome everyone who's in the audience for taking time from their schedule to come and attend the meeting. Would you rise with me and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Ms. Garrett, would you please conduct the roll call?
Bolton?
Here.
Benado?
Here.
Matei?
Here.
Miles?
Here.
Shu?
Here.
Velasquez?
Here.
Baca Gonzalez?
Here. For the record, a quorum is present and council may proceed with business stated in the notice of the meeting. I don't believe we had anybody else sign up for the audience of patrons. Excuse me, sorry. Agenda item number 1 has been pulled, and we will then go to agenda item number 2, which is consideration of a memo of understanding between the City of Trinidad and the Trinidad Triggers, Trinidad State Junior College, and Trinidad School District number 1. The agreement will be signed in counterpart, and the proposed first signatory to the agreement would of course be the City of Trinidad, since they own the field. May I have a motion to approve the memo of understanding as presented? Oh, yes.
I have business dealings with the Triggers, including a sponsorship of the team, and I sell branded products. Do I have a conflict of interest here?
I would suggest that you may. And I'm sorry, Councilwoman Miles, it's possible that, I mean, it looks like you may have a financial, it could look like you have a financial incentive. And so I would recommend abstention on your part. And I'm sorry, I hadn't even thought about it until right now when you mentioned that. But because, if you do have a contract or, you know, any kind of verbal agreement with the triggers, I would suggest respectfully that it probably would be best for you to abstain.
Okay.
Okay, and I'm sorry, but I think that would be the best course.
To avoid any occurrence of
Right.
impropriety.
Right.
I don't know if it would have anything to do with me. You know, I've had them visit my establishment pretty regular.
I don't think
I
that's a
don't
conflict.
think so. No.
Yeah, I don't think that's a problem at all.
Since she has an actual ongoing relationship with them in terms of a financial agreement, yeah.
Right.
No, I don't believe there would be a conflict for Ms. Velasquez. Does anybody else have any question about? If not, then may I have a motion to approve the memo of understanding as presented?
So moved.
Second?
Motion by Mr. Matei, second by Ms. Bolton. Is there any discussion?
Just one.
Yes,
Now,
Mr. Shu.
when we vote on this, there are other signatures that are being involved, so if it's not agreeable to any of the other parties, then what do we do on that issue?
Let's just say hypothetically, somebody from the high school has a concern about the language. Well, we would certainly entertain that concern. I'd recommend that our council immediately communicate with all the other parties to see if the concern can be resolved. Sometimes it can just be an interlineal change initialed by all parties. The reason the city is the first signatory is because
Yeah.
basically we're the
I
ones
understand.
that own the property. But be assured, I don't anticipate we're going to have any material or significant feedback from either the college or the high school that would prevent us from proceeding with the agreement. But certainly, if something would come up, we would immediately address it and see if we could resolve the issue.
That's good, just so that's clear.
I had one other thing, there are a couple typos in here, I'm sure they'll be cleaned up, but there is one that rises above because it changes meaning. Can I give that to you?
The facility use agreement or the
Yes.
The
memorandum?
facility use,
Memorandum.
and it's on provision 3, and it's in the line starting agreement, which is 3rd, 4th, 5th from the
I see
top.
it.
And the next sentence says, in case of a conflict between this MOUA and facility use agreement, since there is a priority,
Right.
I don't want any confusion that this is the facility.
It
So
should be
say
reversed.
the. No, it should say the instead of this.
Yeah,
Okay,
the instead of this.
okay,
Because this is the facility use agreement, not the
Absolutely.
MOUA.
that's right.
And that's how
Happy to do it.
Thank you, Ms. Motz. So we have a motion, a second, any further discussion? And I believe we're ready for the roll call.
Bolton?
Yes.
Benado?
Yes.
Matei?
Yes.
Miles?
Abstain?
Shu?
Yes.
Velasquez?
Yes.
Becca Gonzalez?
Yes. Thank you. The next item is consideration of the Central Park Facility Use Agreement between the City of Trinidad and the Pecos League. And as you know, we had the MOUA, which is going to, we just voted on, which specifies roles and responsibilities. But the facility use agreement is the major document that is going to control the actual rental of the facility. And the first signatory on that document really should be the City of Trinidad. And as I stated previously, if there would be any concern by any of the proposed signatories, we certainly will work diligently to resolve those and communicate with Pecos League and all the other affected parties. May I have a motion to approve the facility use agreement as presented?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Bolton,
Second.
second by Ms. Velasquez. Is there any discussion? I believe we're ready for the roll call.
Bolton?
Yes.
Benado?
Yes.
Matei,
Yes.
Miles,
Abstained?
Shu,
Yes.
Velasquez,
Yes.
Dr. Gonzalez.
Yes. Thank you, and the next agenda item is to conduct an executive session